Have you seen some of these cool layered stencils and wonder if it's just maybe a little too fussy for you and if there's ways to simplify it? Hi, I'm Jess from JessCrafts.com and I'm here to help you get the most of your crafty supplies in time. So let's get making. Today I want to share how I approach these layered stencils. I think that they're really pretty and they have a lot of cool things going on, and I know a lot of people have shared about them, but I just want to focus on how I make the process a little bit more straightforward for someone like me who doesn't necessarily want to go into and do like the super detailed techniques that you can do with these. So I'm going to share how I simplify. One thing I did was when I got my set of stencils, I wrote down which order I want to stencil them in order to achieve the best look, the easiest kind of thing. So I'm going to start with what I would do with my lightest color, and I labeled it 1, and then I go slightly darker and I can get a monochromatic look really, really easily. And then I'll show you how to jazz it up from there. But being able to just do a monochromatic look and being able to label the stencils is going to make the process go quite a bit smoother. I also have a waffle flower mat here, and that means that I can butt up my paper and the stencil just into the corner. So even though there's these little like lines here that show you how to line up each of the stencils, by being able to put it in the corner, and you can do this with a Misty as well, but that like lip on the edge of the waffle flower mat makes a pretty significant difference. Something that could be really fast is using those ink sets where they tell you like, hey, all of these coordinate, use them in this way, but I don't have those. I have the Lawn Fawn inks. They've worked out well for me, and I do keep them in color order, and I kind of keep them from light to dark, so it is pretty easy for me to just pick out like 4 of a color and get a pretty good light to dark range for a monochromatic look. I do have ink swatches, but for the Lawn Fawn inks, the color on the outside matches pretty well, so that's nice. I also think an ink stand can help with these, just because, again, in order to keep things not fussy, I don't want to be sliding all over my desk and make that too hard. So this was from the ink stand. This is kind of the original one. I know some people have these Simon Says Stamp one, which is a little bit easier to clean. This one does stain, but I do think it's a really great product. You also can get mats where they don't slip around very much, like this mat here. If I put pressure on it, it doesn't move too terribly much. There's a couple different solutions out there. So let's get a little bit more into the making of it. Other ways I keep things simple. I only have one brush for each color family. So I'm going to use the same brush for all of my purples, and since I'm going to use them from light to dark, it's probably not going to be too much of an issue because the lighter color spreading onto the darker color is not going to have much of an influence. But if you were going from dark to light, you'd probably want to just have like a baby wipe off to the side and do a quick brush off of the color. And I'm going to hold my stencil here in place because the stencil is completely on top of the paper, and so the stickiness of the mat is not really factoring in here. I also did tape it down. I really like scrapbook.com mint tape, however it's not going to stick to the silicone mat, whereas delicate frog tape will. And so now I've been able to ink that up pretty quickly, and I'm ready to switch to my next stencil. And I'm not going to worry about cleaning these stencils. And as you can see, I can just line it right up with the edge. That's super, super fast. I can get a new piece of tape, because the reason I want a new piece of tape is if I want to make multiple of these, because that's the other way to save a lot of time, is to just do it more than one at a time. And then I can go back and start again with all of the purples, and I don't have to shift around the tape. I'm just kind of going to leave them off to the side. I'm going to clean a whole bunch of things all at once. I'm going to, I sometimes have multiple stencil mats for that reason, because if I batch things like cleaning as well, that can save me a bunch of time. So I'm going to keep going through, just progressively getting darker and darker. I am also using Bristol Smooth cardstock as opposed to like Neenah or my sort of standard card base cardstock. I don't know that it makes as much of a difference compared to like say Neenah, but I do find that the Bristol Smooth ink just kind of goes on well. Like it sticks to the paper well. And so I find if I, having a good paper that like actually absorbs whatever ink you're working with. Just like when you are working with alcohol markers, you want certain paper. Certain paper just works better with alcohol markers. Having the same thing for your inks can make the process easier and, you know, less fussy. Something that's kind of special about these is once you finish your panel, you can actually just die cut the center out, and that means I'm going to be able to get a little bit more interest, and by combining it with another monochromatic. So I can do this purple and this pink. I make 2 panels, but then neither one of them has to stay just that color. And cut this out simply. In addition to cutting out the word, you can cut out a few of the elements, but they don't really work with the full panel. So I'll show you. If I were to try to, for instance, cut out this rose, because of the big border, I would be cutting into some of the other flowers around it. So these would be used if you were just trying to blend like one single flower with the stencils and then cut it out and layer it on top or something like that. But I wanted to show you how those dies worked. To add a little interest, I wanted to pop up my center words. So I'm going to put the pink flowers on my purple background here. I just cut it so it would be 1/8 of an inch bigger than my panel and 1/8 of an inch smaller than my card base. So my card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and so it is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And so that purple will be just a tiny bit visible underneath, probably barely noticeable, but then the purple border will kind of tie that in a little bit. So just a subtle way of adding that color to more than one place. And when it's popped up, it doesn't look unusual. And in fact, it adds a little element of interest. So I'll do the opposite here, where there will be the purple flowers and then the pink word in the center, and the pink will have been pulled in by that. I think this is a perfect opportunity to finish it off with some pops of color from scrapbook.com, stickles, Nouveau drops, etc., or just like gems and enamel dots. When I work with something like these like dropper bottles, I like to test them off to the side a little bit to make sure I'm getting a good flow and shape and all of that. And I like to hover just above the paper. I don't touch the tip to the paper, because if you touch the tip to the paper, it kind of comes out the sides, which is not the look you're going for. And then once I put it on, it kind of has that Hershey Kiss shape where it has a pointy top. I firmly tap it, and that usually knocks down the shape into more of a rounded edge. And then you can do just a few of them at a time so they don't dry too much before you get that opportunity to pat them down. So I would do a couple drops, tap it down, a couple more drops. If you like this video, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know you like this video with a share it to your crafty community, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for product links. See you in the next video.